Good morning. My name is Vita Sadanandan, and today is the 21st of March 2026, and the time is 6:40 a.m. And the area of body we will be maintaining health of by the Nirbeeja Yoga style is what I call the what has been called the thoracic inlet and the thymus. Now, these may be apparently two related areas, but okay, what I've done is I have for those who are watching from Zoom, yeah, from the video, I have just washed my hair and saw like like a bird just dipped in water. Um, but we have different get-ups. We are all actors on stage and we're just playing our role. I'm just playing my role at this point in time with the activity that I'm doing. Okay, so kindly excuse a get-up. Yeah, we have different get-ups. Now, having said that, I have um in the interest of maintaining the health of my own body, segregated my body into 41 parts and 40 of them into four parts each. The one sticky outy bit, the 41, is the tail, plus I call it the tail plus schwa. Now, what I've done is I've represented all of them, spread all of these 40 into four and one part on a calendar. Yeah. And I've put up that calendar on my website, www.dynamicstillnesses.com. On the page named Dailies is the calendar for this month. And for today's date is mentioned um, thorax, or rather upper body. Let's just read it out precisely. Chest, area of the chest, inlet plus thymus. So the inlet is referring to the thoracic inlet and the thymus. Now, what I did is there are so many parts to the chest, and I had to just represent it into four. So I put two of them into one. So the thoracic inlet and thymus is part of one part of the four parts of the chest. Now, that's going to be a little big area. But the thing is, the objective is to maintain health and not to be stuck in those areas. Yeah. So you could be attached to it and lose a point as to the objective why we are doing all of this. So nevertheless, these areas named, they get taken care of different times of the day. It's an area and we have 24 hours in which to maintain that area, so it's fair enough. Yeah. So in that general interest, I thought there is benefit to maintaining health this way, so I'm sharing it with the world, with those who may be interested in maintaining their uh, human body composition, because protection of health is better than prevention of diseases, is better than cure. And I found when you're maintaining your health, health is also wealth, because you tend to save money, or at least not have to spend on medical expenses, which sometimes tends to be something you can then invest in other activities and ensure you have a healthy life. Um, so because when you run the show, you need to be um, well enough, caring enough to be healthy to run your show. Otherwise, you're dependent on somebody else. And in those ideas, regular maintenance of health um, is where you care enough for your life to work, where you are leading your life. Otherwise, you're at the mercy of, well, something else. Yeah. Um, Other aspects. So, uh, this idea of human beings being people in a family, when we say we, it's because there are several I's, I. And if the strength of a bond is equal to the strength of its weakest link. So when every person is taking care of their own health, the strength of we is strong. It's a healthy family. So with that idea, I thought I need to take care of my health, and I'm sharing this way of maintaining health, which I found the founder, facilitator, proprietor, coach of Nirbeeja Yoga, which is a movementless method of yoga. Now, having said so much, let's pay attention to the region of the chest, what I call as a thoracic inlet and the thymus. Now, these are anatomically pretty interesting areas. Now, because unlike other methods of yoga, where you could just go to the body part and then, you know what, it's just a bit of, pulley and lever, you just squeaky, 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 and then get them all right, and then it's all over. No, that's not, a body is more than just a mechanical set of parts put together and then functioning. especially if you regard your body that way, you don't have the benefit of having an alive organic human body, particularly then, because you just become part of the machinery, or you regard yourself as an instrument, you just get things done. There may be at least one male in the audience who think body is a set of parts put together, and then you just squeaky squeaky and then get it done and run. Um, you miss several things about life when you regard yourself that way, including but not limited to the beauty of life, the beauty of the human body. And what are you going to do with beauty? Well, your worldview, your outlook at life depends on the beauty you see. Otherwise, you're just a mechanical part. Use can be done, after there could be an expiry date and you'll be done with. When you see yourself as an alive organism and see the beauty in your own make and in life, your outlook at life is such that you would maintain the beauty. You will work on improving the beauty of that beauty there is. And that's also liberation, where you're going beyond your preconceived notions and actually see life as worth living, and that life is for living. You're born to live and have fun. If you think otherwise, there are wounds in one or the other levels of consciousness, conscience, known, unknown facets, which is allowing you to think that you're just a mechanical, uh, you know, set of pieces put together, and then you miss an entirely big part of what life is about. Now, man, that seems to be like a whole lot of people who think, you just live and then you would, yeah, you would just, yeah, and then you will just expire. No, 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 no. That's not what human beings are created for. So many cycles of evolution to form a human body. And one of the reasons why people think about going beyond the cycles of birth and death is because this creature called humans, several models tried, but sustainable. What in the world would sustain this test of time? Like Earth has, after several cycles, several models, several iterative improvements, yes, we are on the planet as has formed over time. And then we are supposed to sustain the test of time, such that we are functioning in such a way that we would be alive and continue to be alive, because human beings are designed to live in life in the multiverse. Yeah, it's like a pillar that needs to be standing. Otherwise, again, you'll have to start the whole thing all over again. It's quite a tiresome process. But the universe has been trying to have a sustainable model which won't go and destroy things since some time. And over time, my kind of creature is created. Yeah, where I'm talking about in living life in the multiverse. I came to this after thinking humans don't listen. Yeah. Now I was wondering, why don't we listen? And then I figured one of the reasons is we can't feel into our own body. We can't even feel our own nose. Yeah. Then listening is a whole body process, not just a function of the ears. Okay, I'm sounding like a nagging mother, but like old hag. But well, I'm speaking for Earth, I'm speaking for life, I'm speaking for the universe, for the multiverse. Because since the Big Bang, we would like sustainability. And there's a reason why the Big Bang happened. So there is this fear of, what kind of creatures getting created? Are they going to cause the same Big Bang again? So, life sustainable creations. We have Earth, and now humans on Earth, and we are about, talking about nuclear reactors, but it's to generate power, not to destroy. There used to be those bombs, but then over time, humans figured out they can generate energy. So that's more okay. Yeah, but then there must be something else, yes? And I discovered a human body is designed to live in life in the multiverse. So what does it take to go beyond the cycles of birth and death such that we are on this side of life and living and in living, and not doing things which is going to kill you, people around you, or future generations? Oh, wait, what a thought. But that also requires us to have discernment. For example, there are plants which are poisonous. I am going to take some more of the plants in the garden out there, because since we didn't know, we plant them and they're all beautiful. But you also need to take them out. If when you find it is the plants are designed for other purposes and would do well in other places, not exactly where there are curious hands, minds, and yeah, you don't do that. So discernment, where is what, and and then doing things appropriately. Yeah. So life sustains and enlivens over time. All right. That was a rant. But there's at least one person, I don't know if you moved from there or your emotional aspect about it is slightly moved. You're a little soft about it. But try and okay, there's nothing good or bad about it. It's not something to be shy or shameful. No, 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 no. There are things a lot of people don't know about, and they keep ranting and going on and on like that is right until they discover not entirely true. Yeah. So you just have discovered something new. And with that information, what becomes possible for you to see or look at life from? Some of the things is the thoracic inlet and the thymus. The thoracic inlet is the upper part of your thorax, which includes your rib cage, but also is the portion where your upper part of your lungs are. Yeah, your lungs are inside the rib cage, but is also kind of encased by your collarbone and your shoulder girdle. So if you're going to say a lady's purse, you open a bag and there is stuff inside. So your thorax is like a purse, yeah, and the opening of the purse is a thoracic inlet. But it's also called so because there is tubes from the heart going to the brain, and tubes from the brain, wires from the brain going to the rest of the body. Yeah, nerves and arteries, veins, what have you. Um, Also lymph nodes. That's more like the waste management system, kind of other details. But there is also the bones, the spine. But that doesn't become part of the thoracic inlet. But if you're going to say this is and that is not, then we are not seeing the thoracic inlet in all its totality. So it involves bones, arteries, veins, nerves, muscular structures, um, the same thing that is there in every other part of the body. Yeah, but how this part of the body is maintaining health is different from how other parts of the body is maintaining health. Much like in an organization, there are different kinds of departments. Every department has their own function. They are shaped differently, their composition is different, how they function is different, but they're all part of the same organization. But each department has their own work. So the thoracic inlet department, and I've combined that with the thymus. Now, the thymus is the region which you point to when you say I. So there's uh, the T antibodies, no, T3, for example, yeah, cancer, those kinds of immunity concerns. When your T bodies are not functioning as well, then immunity has a little not so much strong force. There are some powerful people not really available, and yeah, because they need to be in a particular composition and in a particular strength. Now, the thymus is also the region which is quite big in kids. But as you grow up, the thymus kind of shrinks, is what they say. And along with that, your immunity is a little less, not as good as it used to be. Yeah. Your babytude, your yay me becomes a little less because you go through a little bit of pruning and then you go a little, oh, like this. Yeah. Which is why Nirbeeja Yoga helps, because I go and maintain the health of my thymus. Yeah. So that my itude, and it's not like, oh, me, Lord of the Rings, and a yay, I rule the world. Have you seen babies when they throw a tantrum? You have it. Yeah. And over time comes discernment as to what to throw tantrums about and what to maintain peace about, which is also how a child becomes an adult. So there are benefits, but there's also about what are you throwing a tantrum about? Yeah, and then some people throw a fit of anger. The thing is, why are they doing that? If there's nobody opposing it, you know what they do? Cause trouble. So having a child in a big body, no, no, it is when you grow up enough that the baby takes care of the village and the village takes care of the baby, then you're a little more adult rather than being adult. Yeah, either you're like, oh, me, yeah, we got to bear the whole stuff and then surviving through life, or life is surviving you. Yeah, that also becomes a thing. But it's about why are you being pain in the wrong place? Yeah, because I'm telling things to adult people who haven't been thinking about certain things in some time. And we have a sick economy. We have, over time, World Health Organization collated a list of diseases. That is after the United Nations formed, before we had warring tribes. And we still have WHO's global list of diseases, which means it is still a sick economy. We still have sicknesses. And you also tend to think we cannot go beyond sicknesses. Sicknesses would always be there. That's because you don't have a perspective on health. So I am running a peeve that our perspective of health is also what is maintaining WHO's global list of diseases. Yeah. So this is a perpendicular, I can't say perpendicular. It's a little curve on the matter. I can't say U-turn, but at least a relook on the matter. So we are seeing another aspect of health. Um, okay. So the thymus, when people have been saying, drop your identity, your itude, you become a little less important than the collective. And I'm saying the individual is just as important as a collective. And for that, the I needs to be good enough. And I have an um, eye range, little eye and big eye. And you need to keep going up and down between, have the balance between the little eye and big eye, like the pillar and the post. Yeah. But you need to not be running helter-skelter between pillar and post, but have it in such a way it's like there's this church of Santa Nino in the Philippines, yeah, which is more like a wooden cross. But apparently, that was the cross which was brought by missionaries when they came to the Philippines and then began the preaching, teaching of those ways of thought lines. And that wood is preserved inside another wood because that wood would otherwise not, yeah, be exposed to the elements. But there's a light inside of us that keeps us alive. We are at least warm-blooded animals or creatures, plants, microbes, our body is a combination of microbes, plants, animals, insects, what have you. And we are standing on 2 feet, like stick insects. Yeah. But we're standing on 2 feet, but we walk unlike plants. Yeah, we even stand on our head. Those who can stand on their head, like microbes. And we are called humans, not walking on four limbs. Yeah, like animals. So it's quite an interesting combination. But humans are warm-blooded creatures. So there's a light or there's a fire inside us, which keeps our blood warm. Where there is warmth, there must be some fire. And maintaining the metabolic health of a body is also how we go beyond lifestyle diseases. Diseases. Now, when our self-worth, our self-esteem is less than what it needs to be, we sometimes function like something the cat dragged in. Yeah, which does not quite work because you need to do your job. If you are required to function like something the cat dragged in, then that's the phase of development you're in. Yeah, but that's not the only phase. When you become healthier, like a seed grows from, puts out root and shoot, and then over time becomes a creeper, and then as it gains strength, becomes a tree over time, and then the tree has girth. There are tree rings, you see. So you may not be recognizing as being in a stage of development. And according to the what is available in the environment, flora, fauna, seasons change. And when it's the right season, you grow to the next stage of development, which may be not just a creeper, it could be something else. Yeah, a different stage where you're putting out flowers, leaves, fruits. But that's not a stage two. You still have to grow up to become a tree. But that is there as a potential within your make. That is if that's the kind of make you are. We are human beings. That's what I want to talk. Yeah. We look differently, but we are 99.9% humans. And that's that 0.1% that we haven't figured out. And which is why we look differently, behave differently across the globe. And that's some of the difference that I'm covering. I'm just covering the 0.1% of everything that we haven't yet figured out about being human and being humane and being alive, in love. married and not seeking liberation from life, but instead actually finding what it takes to be what makes our creators proud for having created us. Yeah. One of the thing is love. Love heals wounds over time, and we go icky over love because love is hinged on a door between unconditional love and unconditional hate. But nevertheless, it's hinged on love. When you have a odd relationship with love, unconditional love side or unconditional hate side, your life is a little swinging, yeah, between this side and that. And you have a pendulum, and then we have trauma therapists healing between this and that and this and that, like a grandfather clock with a pendulum going left and right and left and right. Yeah, get stable. Okay. All right. You are hinged on love. So that's a stable part, yeah. Recognizing what is stable while there are changing facets too is also how you come to it. Things are not always just moving all the time. Some things are stable. Yeah, so you're not just a swingy door. Now, what that also takes is recognizing, for example, that your body is the stable amongst all the different variations. And your body is human, and you have the faculties that you have, the features that you have. Plus, a live body has head, neck, the shoulder girdles, the spine, the pelvis, plus or minus limbs. Now you have limbs, take care of it. Don't have limbs, take care of the alive body you have. Yeah, you are alive and have a body that's human. That's taken a lot of time to qualify enough to have a body that's human. Yeah, and to be alive. And in your placement in the whole scheme of things, you have limbs, that placement in the whole scheme of things. And to do your job, how many people would pray to have an opportunity, anything like what you have. You know, it takes something to have a body that's human. You got to go through several qualification checklists. Yeah. Oh boy. Pythagoras calculated that it takes, no, we're not going there. Yeah. Your life is feeling like difficult. That's because you're not familiar with your own body. In all those changes, it's your human body which is constant and stable, living through all those experiences. Your body is your life partner. Yeah, that's your first home, it's your first vehicle, it's your first office, it's your first living space, it's your first country, your first relationship from having a human life, this side of life, is because you have a body that's human, that which you grew with it. Yeah, it's like siblings, yeah. But yeah, so and then you have parents who are also having a body that's human. Yeah. And paying attention to the human body you have with the genetic material it has, you are taking care of your entire country, your entire universe. And your attitude, the region of your thymus, also maintains a certain immunity, but it could be a humane immunity where you're not going offense defense. And that requires paying attention to your region of your thymus. Like, try placing your palm on your chest. You're most likely to be placing it in the region of your thymus because it's just above your heart, thereabout. It's like um, what do you say? When you hang something on the door, yeah, kind of, in your threshold door. This is like the thymus is a little bit like on the heart, yeah. And so that thymus and your heart has a very fine relationship. Okay, thymus is a two-lobed gland, has two lobes. How do you say it? Lobes are like tongues. Yeah, like tongue, two tongues. Okay, how else do you say it? Look it up on this app called Visible Body or on the app called Biodigital Human. Visible Body or Biodigital Human. And you will find anatomy parts. So you would be able to recognize thymus. Thymus is, you search it, yeah, you'll find it. Or you could also look it up on Google. You will find thymus. It's a bilobed gland. Okay. And when you're feeling down and under, you try placing your palm on this region of your thymus, about where you generally place your hand when you say place your hand on your chest. not exactly in the region of your nipples, but slightly above it. Yeah. And when you rub this area a little bit, it's your thymus area which gets a little bit of a comfort. Your attitude is getting a little, ooh, nice, nice, a little warm, warm. Yeah, you will feel better. But don't make it a habit because that would be a little odd because you would also need to pay attention to the warmth in that region such that you don't have to place your hand on your thymus all the time, but can actually sense the natural warmth in your body when you get a little familiar with where your thymus is. Yeah, you become a warm person who can actually maintain the health of your immunity, but also the health of your humanity. When you realize your thymus is close to your heart, and when you can be a little more in connection with the heart, there's a mediastinum, but we will cover all that. Four parts of the chest area. Today we are covering thoracic inlet and thymus. Try and bring attention to any sense of movement in your chest as you're breathing. Now you're an alive human being. Your chest is moving while you're breathing because you have lungs inside your rib cage. Pay attention to any sense of movement about your chest as you're breathing naturally. You don't have to take in a deep breath and then let out. You are naturally breathing however you're breathing. It's a shallow breath, deep breath, however it is. Pay attention to the movement of your chest, however you're breathing. Because you're noticing how things are without fixing or changing them. And then, while paying attention to the natural movement of your chest while you're breathing, notice any sense of warmth anywhere inside your chest, anywhere about your chest. Now, it's to be noted that your chest expands and contracts in the front, side, and back differently. Okay, because there's a rib cage, and we are a kind of sort of round kind of creature, like a roundworm, earthworm, yeah? And we have a space inside the chest, and the rib cage expands and contracts. So the movement of your chest in the front, side, and back would be different. Subtle movements, but different, not the same movement in all directions. For example, the side expands and contracts laterally, while the front expands and contracts anteriorly, like front and back. The back also moves back and forth, not side side. Yeah. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but this is a natural movement your body is making. Yeah. A body is designed to move, and this part of the body moves this way. And corresponding with this, your arms move in relationship with the um, shoulder girdle, the bony framework of the shoulders. You would have to look at the visible body or biodigital human to see the skeletal framework. On the skeletal framework, like a house has beams, on which is the putty, the bricks. Similarly, there's the bony framework on which is the muscles, the nerves, arteries, veins, blood, skin. Yeah. So get a little familiar with the bony framework. And the rib cage is corresponding with the shoulder area, and the arms are corresponding with the shoulder area. So when your chest expands and contracts while breathing, your arms are making a relatively similar related motion. And then try and pay attention to any sense of warmth inside your chest. That would essentially be inside your rib cage, but inside your chest is a good enough reference. That's like you have a chest of treasures, kind of, yeah? Which is why your chest has a rib cage to protect the goodies inside, yeah? And if you're having a little difficult moment, that's because you haven't been paying attention to your treasure house as much. Yeah, because you did not take the time to maintain your health, or did not know there are your treasure house is also inside. Yeah. And you need to also write for you to then be able to kind of represent some of the ideas that you recognize what you have and don't have. It could also be emotions, but Emotions could also be sometimes be difficult, and then you say, oh, I have difficult emotions. But it's a perspective. When you see what is difficult and what is easy, over time you'll begin to start recognizing which is which. It may be your perspective about them. They may also be like seeds. Some of the seeds you need to digest, like walnuts. You need to crack open to get the goodness inside. Some are just you like seedless grapes. You pop and then chew chew. Yeah. So some difficult, some easy. But if you're going to call them names and then say good and bad, you miss out the opportunity on what they are. Yeah. Now, when you're writing them down, that's put today's date, for example, and write for today's date, because this may not be the same case tomorrow or maybe a few weeks from now. Because if you continue to practice this way, your relationship with your chest, your chest of treasures, also the stories you have, the different kinds of content inside, may not be the same. Because as your health improves, how you look at life, your outlook at life, you look out, you have eyes, but also what you see, how you see things may not be the same. And so your stories change. Yeah. Which is also what a human body is made for. We are story digesters, and we keep making better stories. That is when your metabolism is good enough. Otherwise you're seeing doomsday. Yeah. Healthier metabolism is also how you digest stories, content, bits of information, also called stories. Bits of information from stories. And then you move history, her story forward for the better. His story, her story, your story also moves for the better. You are basically an author, and you don't even have to use ink. Your body digests the stories. Yeah. And then when you write it, it may not directly translate. It may be heavy volume writing that your body is doing, and you're writing one sentence. Yeah, it'll take some while. But that's also how beautiful stories also form. We have, family tree stories and then community story. Okay, don't want to think about all of that. Okay. But what I'm saying is we are living in, oh my God, so many stories. Yeah, and then it's about, do you want to digest them? What you don't want to think about all of that? Okay, just consider your own body stories. Yeah. And then what is happening around you? How, okay, you don't want to think about all of that. Okay, just pay attention to the gentle movement of your chest as you're breathing, because that is how the story digestion begins. Yeah, slowly, slowly, it's like the internal combustion engine of a vehicle. Here, the input is experiences also, but also food. Food is also important. If in a petrol vehicle, if you put diesel, it doesn't work as well. Yeah. Try and eat a little bit of vegetables, because that gives a certain internal strength, because plants also release many kinds of content. Yeah, which is trying to protect itself, but it is giving a little, like punch, so your body tissues become a little stronger. Animals, they don't necessarily have plant quality. Yeah. So eating plants is a bit like a workout without having to go to a gym, because the plants are doing a little bit of tissue from inside. So your tissues are becoming stronger. Yeah. Because they release enzymes and many things to maintain being alive, and you eat them up. Yeah. E. I know. Pineapples, for example, have spicules to protect itself, and you chew it up. Yeah. That is if you chew it up well. Otherwise, you say, oh, I'm having a little pain. Yeah. When you mindfully eat it and also see how, for example, chili, it hurts inside. You will go, oh, and then tears cry coming out. But if you pay attention to how the chilies are actually affecting your tissues, you will notice how to appreciate the different fine qualities of chili, where then the chili becomes a little bit like a medicine for issues you didn't know how to heal. Yeah. What you pay attention to, what you honors you and your life. When you then um, when you eat chilies in a way that is appreciative of what food as mother, father too, yeah. But they're also nature nurture, but they're also gods, so to speak. Yeah, they have their own spirits. But when you honor what you're eating, um, just like teachers, You go to school, they're teaching things. You listen from your parents, different people. They're saying things you like, don't like. But if you don't discern, if you're not appreciative of which and which, you could be having a problem with everything. Yeah. When you are paying attention, and then guna dosham, they say, the guna and the dosha, when you're appreciative of it, then you know which is medicine and which is poison. Yeah. But um, you paying attention to those details is also by noticing what's happening in your body without having to eat chilies. Because your body tissues have different composition. There's also warmth, there's moisture, there is softness, there is um, space, there is emotional content, charge sometimes, yeah, positive, negative, those things going on in your head. So there is all kinds of um, elements that makes your body, but you can appreciate it and then discern, okay, there's this thing happening, and then you'll know if it's good or bad, or where is it coming from, where is the influence from, is it from the environment? And if it's the environment, it could just be cookies not digested in their own material, because everybody's made up of stories. They just haven't digested their own cookies, and they're walking around being a pain for other people, or just not allowing you to breathe healthier naturally, because they are this heavy cloud walking around, don't know that they need to listen to, attend these lives and learn Nirbeeja Yoga, because they need to learn to digest their stories, and they may be eating food which may also be non-veg. But the thing is, non-veg takes longer to digest, and they will be inside your body, not really digesting in time. Vegetables, fruits, they take lesser time. Yeah. And they will be walking around heavy metals. Yeah, not knowing how they are influencing the environment around them. Because if they did know, they would make changes. They don't know about it. You can tell about it, but they'll think you're a little one. Yeah. So this is Choti Mu Badi Baat. Yeah, me, Choti Mu Badi Baat. But something needs to be said. It's about who's there in the room here, but that's also there. But this is like a bird. Life has always been talking. It's about who's been listening. So those who listen have the benefit of meditative intelligence, intelligently moving through different spaces in such a way that you are alive, people around you are alive, and future generations are also alive. And their future generations are also alive. How do you make sure all of them are alive? By you maintaining what it takes to be alive. Yeah. But when you are paying attention to the warmth, softness, moisture, for example, and your stories are getting better also by writing, how you look at life in some way changes how they look at life. Now that's something. That's the sun rising up. When the sun is up, and earth also has the sunlight effect and springtime possibilities. So you inspire certain creations from people around you, because where there is light, new things grow. That's what I call a Surya Namaskar. It's just you being all nice, sunny side up, but it's not about being sunny, positive, sunny. No, you noticing your outlook at life being that of appreciation of life, discernment of life. Like when you eat food, you discern, oh, it's spicy, it's salt, it's a little sour, it's a little pungent, it's a little bitter. Yeah, it's a little tasteless. Yeah, and then you're noticing all of these different things. um Water has a taste too. Yeah. And choosing, also knowing why you choose what you choose, what you like, what you don't like. What you don't like maybe because there are wounds or past phase concerns, or because somebody else likes, you don't like that person, but because that person likes it, you won't like this, which is a very funny way, but you tend to do that too sometimes. Yeah. So once you start writing your stories, yeah, your story becomes better, and then how you look at his story, her story, which may also be people in your neighborhood stories, because there are his and her. Yeah. So slowly, slowly, life enlivened in the multiverse. Yeah. all verses, all kinds of verses, stories, multiverse, life and relevance in the multiverse. We would be talking better stuff. Otherwise, you see somebody making big noises, that's because they haven't digested their cookies, or they haven't paid attention to their stories, or they haven't written their stories, or they haven't said what's happening inside to anybody else. They just simmer inside. Yeah, I like volcanoes, but they won't even. You can know that's a walking volcano. Yeah, and you can be safe. Yeah, while slowly trying and helping others to cool it. Yeah, you can give them cucumbers. You can give them water. Yeah, or ask them to go for a walk in a park, or accompany them. Yeah, if you can, to a park, so they have a little hawa lagni chahiye. And they may or may not say anything, but have them walk with their feet on the grass, because the grass then helps them to balance the charges, and then they would be less like a volcano. Yeah, or they would be more humane composition, like a little bit more like earth. Yeah, so not ready to go and yeah, not ready for a reaction. So a little bit of work, but things like that has us have a pleasanter experience of living. Yeah, normal ordinary harmonious living takes some work. It's a science in and of itself. Thank you so much for joining me. We kind of touched upon the thoracic inlet and the thymus, but I hope this has been of value to you. This is what came about in this morning live while the sun is in different stages. And the sun is just up. Yeah, it's just still a good morning. Yeah, morning. We will meet in the evening, 6:30 to 7, and look at how is this same conversation showing up in the evening when the sun is in different stages of setting. People are maybe even tired from different experiences of living through the day, working, and then our physiology is experiencing life a little differently. We would have eaten different kinds of food. So it would be interesting what the same topic would we would have to speak in terms of, yeah, speak about. Oh my goodness, my words are already garbled. I wonder what in the world we're going to talk about in the evening, but it would be interesting. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I hope this has been of value to you. Good day.